Welcome in to Seahawks Today, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. So glad to have you with us. You have questions, you're in luck, because I have answers. It is time for another award-winning Seahawks Today mailbag. And you may be wondering, how do I get to be a part of these mailbags? Well, you're in luck, because if you subscribe to the channel, then you would know when our live shows are, and you can get into the chat and send your questions in. Whatever is on your mind about your favorite team, I'm willing to answer. Super chats get priority, and then people that use the hashtag Seahawks get their questions answered as well. Send them in. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss a moment. YouTube.com/SeahawksTV. First question comes in from Tom and Trina. I am thankful for Denver. I am very thankful for Denver as well. And the Raiders, who the Seahawks face this week, obviously. Thank you guys for beating Denver. As Denver continues to pile on the losses, that draft pick for the Seahawks continues to get better. Remember at the beginning of the year, there were some people talking about this team potentially tanking their pick, the Seahawks. And I said to you after a few weeks, I'm like, don't worry about tanking, because there was still a crowd of folks that wanted to tank. I said, don't worry about it. Seahawks need to keep winning football games because the Broncos are taking care of the tanking for you with their draft pick. If the draft were held today, the Seahawks would hold the number 5 pick in the draft, courtesy of the Denver Broncos. So, Denver, thank you. Not only did the Seahawks get rid of Russell Wilson and all that money, but all the draft capital that came in and the great draft picks. Thank you, Denver. Next question. What happened to Tyreke Smith, the edge rusher? So, Tyreke Smith, they drafted out of Ohio State, and he got injured pretty early on in the offseason, and we haven't seen him since. I imagine that he'll get out there at some point in time, that we'll see Tyreke Smith in a Seahawks uniform, but probably not anytime soon, quite frankly, as far as that goes with Tyreke Smith. Very talented player. I thought the Seahawks found a steal with grabbing him on day 3, but it doesn't look like that he's probably going to be on the active roster anytime soon after that injury he suffered in the offseason. Aaron writes in, could the Seahawks trade DK for a first and a second? Okay, so this is an interesting idea, trading DK Metcalf here. Now, I know some of you folks out there are not happy with DK's performance considering how much he's getting paid now, that his paycheck is up a significant amount. And there was statistics that were thrown out there this week from the guys at 538 that showed that Tyler Lockett has been outplaying DK Metcalf. But here's the deal. You could probably trade him for a first and a second, but why? Why would you do that? I'm all in on DK Metcalf. He is maybe my favorite player on this Seahawks team. The sky's the limit. There's a lot of potential there. Everything's going to be fine with DK Metcalf. I'm not worried that his numbers aren't as good as Tyler Lockett's. Quite frankly, the Seahawks need him, and he'll figure things out as far as I'm concerned. So I want to trade DK, but if that's your prerogative, if that's what you're thinking, I won't hold it against you if you feel that way, but I'm not interested in trading away DK Metcalf, quite frankly. Now, be honest with me. Would you consider trading DK for the right price? If so, what is that said price? That is our pinned comment today. What is the right price to trade DK Metcalf? All that money is being paid, potentially free up some cap space, get some draft capital out of it. I wouldn't do the move, but you tell me. Would you consider trading DK for the right price? If so, what is that price? Let me know in the comment section. You might get an ad break. If so, take advantage of it. Get your votes in and tell me what that right price is. Chris writes, do you think the Seahawks keep Geno next year or draft a quarterback in this year's draft in the first round? So the Seahawks have said that they would like to extend Geno Smith and bring him back next year and give him a multi-year deal. Okay? So I do think Geno Smith is coming back. As far as drafting a quarterback in the first round goes, I think it's possible, but I think it has to be one of those deals where the Seahawks fall in love with the guy. It's not going to be like last year where you had, potential quarterbacks in last year's draft, Malik Willis, Kenny Pickett. There were some people that wanted the Seahawks to draft a quarterback just because they needed a quarterback. Well, they did their scouting, and they said, look, we don't think any of those are first-round talents, and so they passed on them. So if the Seahawks do their scouting and they see, oh, we like C.J. Stroud, or we like Bryce Young, or Will Levis, whoever it may be, then okay, then that could make sense. But if there isn't a guy you are in love with at that quarterback spot, then you don't worry about drafting a first-round quarterback this year, and you wait till next year. So potentially, you got 2 picks, not out of the question, but I don't think it's necessarily a guarantee that you are going to spend a first-rounder on a quarterback. That Fat Rat writes in, #Seahawks, if Seattle were to replace Jamal Adams, who could they sign, trade for, or draft? Jamal Adams' contract, it is tough to move on from him next year. I don't think anybody's trading for Jamal Adams with his injury history and how much he is getting paid. But as far as other options go, that's a very good question of potentially who they could sign, trade for, or draft. I think the route that they would look at is the draft to replace Jamal Adams. I don't think you want to trade for another safety again. Quite frankly, maybe you make a deal, bring in like a Buda Baker type or something like that. But to me, I think the route for this Seahawks team is they're going to be looking to the draft, and that's their best point of action, and see where things go from there. But you're not replacing Jamal Adams right away next year because his contract just doesn't make sense to move on from with the way that it's structured right now. Today's show is presented by BetUS, the exclusive sportsbook partner of Chat Sports. If you go to chatsports.com/bet, use the promo code Seahawks125 to get a 125% deposit bonus. You may be wondering, what in the hell does that mean? Well, if you put $100 down, you get $125 to spend for free. It's a great deal. Go to chatsports.com/bet, promo code Seahawks125 to get your bets in. Now you can bet on this Sunday's game between your Seattle Seahawks and the Las Vegas Raiders. The Seahawks come in as a 4-point favorite. The over-under, 47.5. What bets are you going to get in? I like the Seahawks to cover. Over-under, that one's going to be interesting to me. I don't know necessarily about the over on that, but life's too short to bet the under. Get your bets in now. Chatsports.com/bet, promo code Seahawks125. Next one. User from the 509 says, Will Anderson with our first pick, hopefully. I love Will Anderson. I have talked a lot about Will Anderson over the last couple months. To me, he is the number 1 player in this upcoming draft. I am of the belief that if you have the opportunity to draft Will Anderson, you draft him, and even if you are desperate for a quarterback, you figure out the quarterback situation later. Will Anderson is that good that you take him first, and then you figure out the salary cap, the quarterback situation after that. So Will Anderson, he would be awesome. I'd love to have him in Seattle, but even if the Broncos, let's say, have the number 5 pick, I don't expect Anderson to fall that far. I think he should be the number 1 pick. I'd be surprised if he goes past 3. Temper Frames writes, do you think the Seahawks draft an edge rusher with their first pick in the 2023 draft? They could. I mean, it's certainly possible they could draft a edge rusher, but I look at this draft and, I mean, where this Seahawks team is at with how well they drafted in 2022, you almost think to an extent you can go best available with your picks based on how much you have filled up the gaps with younger players, with younger talent at this point, not having to pay them a whole lot here. People are going to point to certain positions here and there. I'm open to the possibility of looking at best available and figuring out that's how well you've built your foundation with this Seahawks team, quite frankly. So, yeah, it could happen, but we'll see. What's the Seahawks' biggest need this offseason? Is it on defense? Is it on offense? What is it for this Seahawks team? Let me know in the comments section what you think it is for the Seahawks in 2023. Jed Norris, a real one, he writes in, #Seahawks, what do you think we'll do with Rashad Penny next season now that we have Kenneth Walker? Well, Rashad Penny is going to be an unrestricted free agent in the offseason, and I do not think the Seahawks are going to bring him back. He is not been healthy. We know that he's a very talented football player, but the injury bug has just hit him too much. And when you get past, year 5 and year 6, get into that territory, things don't get better. They get worse when it comes to the injury bug on that front. So I don't think Rashad Penny's getting another contract. I think he'll be playing somewhere else next year, and quite frankly, that's fine. Best of luck to Rashad Penny, but I don't think that the Seahawks are going to bring him back. Alex writes in, trade for Zach Wilson. Ooh. Zach Wilson, or as I like to call him, Mormon Ryan Leaf. Zach Wilson's been awful in New York. And that Jets team is a lot better than all of us thought they would be in 2022. But it's not because of Zach Wilson. They've been winning in spite of Zach Wilson. So I am not interested in Zach Wilson. He's not a very good leader. We've seen that already. He doesn't know accountability, doesn't know how to take blame. And for Zach Wilson, there's some raw talent there, but he hasn't been able to put it all together. And he has not been able to read defense as well. I have not liked what I've seen from Zach Wilson. If I'm trading for Zach Wilson, I'm not giving up much. I'm not opposed to the idea, but I'm definitely not giving up a day 1 or day 2 pick at this point for Zach Wilson. I think that's something where I would not even start him over. I wouldn't start him over Geno Smith. If you're bringing in Zach Wilson, it's to be your backup, and then if something happens to Geno, if he struggles or gets hurt, then you give Zach Wilson a shot. But no, I'm not interested in trading for Zach Wilson for any significant value. It'd have to be a very cheap trade as far as I'm concerned. But thanks for the question there, Alex. As always, you need to subscribe to the channel as we're covering the Seattle Seahawks each and every day. And we have another awesome watch party headed your way coming up on Sunday for the Seahawks and Raiders game. We're going to get started about 3:30 Eastern time, and a kickoff is at about 4:05. So we'll get you ready for this game, tell you everything you need to know, react to the game in real time, have a few drinks as well, and do our live post-game show as well. Don't miss it. Seahawks and Raiders live here on Seahawks Today coming up on Sunday afternoon. You won't want to miss it.